and welcome to this week's live timeline session. This one's going to be a fun one because we're getting into the Altissimo register, which is one of the most commonly complained about parts of the clarinet because it is a little bit tricky to get the hang of. I was going to be smart and try to remember to take my pencil out before I have to write, and almost did it. Okay. If you don't know what this whole timeline stuff is about, it is going through the mastery timeline from the Next Generation Clarinet method, which is my method book, my sort of online program. There's a PDF that's an actual sort of traditional method book with exercises and all of that good stuff. And then there's also a whole suite of other things to help you get the most out of it and really actually implement the exercises, including these timelines. And this is the sort of timeline for intermediate players. It goes really in depth with all of the warm-up exercises, which is why I thought it would be a great thing to do during my typical live weekly warm-up. This is a bunch of warm-ups every single week from the Next Generation Clarinet method. So I'm working through it both for myself to sort of feel what it feels like, and also for you to get a sense for what it's like if you don't have the method, or if you do have the method, sort of have a guideline and, again, demonstration of how to get the most out of this. So that's what we're doing today. Two other sort of brief bits of information before we start. One, I am doing a free training on June 25th, so that's coming up in a couple weeks from when this is going live. And that's going to be a really awesome clarinet training all about sort of fixing the most common clarinet problems. I've been teaching the clarinet for almost 10 years now, and I've noticed some things that sort of come up over and over and over again. One of my most popular videos on the channel is the top 10 clarinet mistakes, and this training is going to be a little bit similar to that, but it's actually going to be showing you some exercises and having you do some exercises together with me that are actually going to fix some of those common problems. So that's going to be really great. There's a link in the description. You can also go to quickstartclarinet.com/solutions to register for that training and get the Zoom link and everything. It's June 25th at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. So if you're available for it, I highly recommend checking that out. The other little note is I'm in the process of reviewing the Venn reeds from D'Addario. So I am playing on a Venn reed today, just so you know. Great, so let's get started with the actual session. First, we have our warm-up, which starts with our Christmas tree long tones. So let's go ahead and get started with those. Let me get my timer pulled up, and we'll start with some long tones. And I am going to do them today. I'm going to do it not as written, not an octave up, but actually just a third up. So I'm going to be starting on E, which is one of my favorite notes to start on for Christmas tree. It's one of the ones that I've done very regularly. I was out of town this weekend, so I haven't played for a little bit, so I want to sort of get back in the zone with an exercise that I'm very familiar with and comfortable with. Oops, sorry, skipped a note. And as I'm going, feel free to ask questions in the chat if you have any clarinet questions. on those bad sounding notes, I want to try to get them sounding as good as I possibly can. I'm also adjusting my reed a little bit. These synthetic reeds are pretty finicky about where you put them on the mouthpiece, so I want to make sure I have that dialed in. And even though my time's up, I'm going to take a little bit more time getting these, again, because I haven't played in a little bit, so I want to get my long tones really dialed in. And I think that's okay as a general rule when you're going through these timelines. Feel free to adjust the timing however you like. The times that I give are more sort of suggestions or guidelines. You can mix it up for whatever works best for you. Okay, that was the long tones. Starting to get warmed up a little bit. It's feeling good. Now for technique. Let me just double check. Yes, we have our ascending scales in a different key each day. I believe last week I did E flat, so I'll continue around the circle of fourths to A flat today. And of course with the metronome, because that's always very important. Nice and slow and comfortable, but still with that steady beat, so that is steady. Yeah, I'm still trying to find the good sound. This one's good too because it has an opportunity to use the left pinky E flat, so that's fun to get used to. That's what I was repeating a little bit in there in the middle. Let me go down now. going to try doing the whole major scale again to get it all comfortable up and down. You can see it's a little bit shaky at first, but I'm starting to get warmed up and starting to sort of feel comfortable with where all these notes are, starting to find the good sound quality, all of that good stuff. But sometimes it takes more time than other days just because of the day. I feel like today's a little bit of a slower start for me. Again, I took a few days off, so it makes sense, but it's always a good opportunity after a break to sort of get back into things really high quality. Now let me do the F harmonic minor. And actually, this is a really good point. What I just did, I was thinking through what the harmonic minor is going to actually mean. So the main important part is the D flat to E natural in F harmonic minor. That's the sort of trick that you have to get. So I thought through that before just sort of throwing myself at it and hoping it worked out. One more time. And now melodic minor. One more time. I have a little bit of time left. And that's the technique portion. That last time, especially when I repeated the melodic minor, I was really thinking about where my fingers were going and trying to have all of that good, minimal, relaxed, independent motion that we always want out of the fingers. Sorry I didn't stand up and show you my fingers like I do sometimes. That might have been nice, but we're on to articulation. So this is just our standard scale articulation. Again, of course, with the metronome, because always, always, always with the metronome. And again, since I haven't played in a few days, I'm not going to push this too crazy. I'm going to go at a nice, comfortable 80 beats per minute to start, and then we'll go from there. That was pretty comfortable. I'm happy with the sound quality. These reeds do articulation pretty well, so I'm going to bump up the tempo. Let's go up to 100. Yeah, I feel like the articulation is quite consistent and pretty easy, even in those higher notes where that tricky articulation register of the upper clarion. So that's going pretty well. I'm going to try doing the same speed now, but a little bit more staccato with the articulation and see how that goes. This might be a little bit fast for staccato, but let's try. Yeah, I think staccato sounds silly at this speed. Let's go down to 80 again. Yeah, I feel like the staccato articulation actually is almost what sounded the best so far today, which is very weird because normally that's what sounds the worst for me. So again, I'll blame it on the reed because I'm a clarinetist, but I do actually really like the articulation on these Venn reeds. Great, so that brings us to the actual session. I'm going to swap my clarinet out real quick while I read the focus for today. So the focus is on page 29, which is all about the Altissimo register. And what I wrote for the purpose, the Altissimo register can be a bit tricky, but it is important to practice it just like we practice any other register. The exercise on this page is a great place to start, but if you want extra challenge, try doing some scale long tones or Christmas tree long tones up into the Altissimo register. The more you practice these without being timid or afraid, the more comfortable and confident you will sound up there. That's good advice. I like what I wrote there. It's all about getting that confidence and actually taking the time to practice up there. I think we're always so uncomfortable with the Altissimo just because we don't really do it that much. So let's go to page 29, and I'm sure this is going to sound really nice over the live stream, so I'm sorry about that. But here we are. So let me go ahead and read what's on this page too, because that's certainly part of this. This is in the Learning the Notes Part 4 section of the book. The Altissimo is the highest register of the clarinet and includes all of the notes above the high C that is played with the thumb and register key. Just like crossing the break from the chalumeau to the clarion, the trick here is to remain as steady as possible. If you keep the reed vibrating with steady air and embouchure, then you will likely have no problems getting up to these highest notes. That being said, the Altissimo can be a bit more finicky than the clarion. While the clarinet has a dedicated register key for transitioning into the clarion, the fingerings in the Altissimo are much less consistent. You may notice that most of the fingerings have the first finger of the left hand uncovered, and that works somewhat like a fake register key. But ultimately, the Altissimo is mostly about controlled squeaks with fingerings that make them the most in tune. The following exercise is a good introduction to playing these higher notes. There are also several exercises to work on really controlling the Altissimo in the upcoming warm-ups and short studies. Then there's the exercise, but I'm going to go ahead and read the next part as well. As you begin to get comfortable with these notes, try and keep things as steady as possible with your air and embouchure. These notes are going to sound high and maybe a bit shrill, but it is important to keep the support going and not get used to shying away from the higher sounds. As you improve and get used to hearing them, they will be more comfortable and sound better. Though getting a good sound in this register takes some work, be careful not to underestimate the unfamiliarity of the fingerings as well. These fingerings can be awkward at first, so take your time to be confident with them. The pattern of notes in the above exercise is designed to give you some anchor notes that are more common, C, D, and E, so that you can relate the other fingerings to those more standard ones. And then there's a link to a great resource for fingering options. Okay, let's try the exercise now. Everybody prepare your ears. Hopefully it'll sound nice and pretty. But again, they're higher notes. You can see I really emphasize that both in the book itself and in the timelines to not be afraid of these notes. Try to get used to these high-pitched sounds that are always going to be high-pitched no matter what. Hopefully this doesn't sound too bad. Let me know in the comments and maybe I could play softer, but I'm going to keep going. Notice how I'm really holding each note quite long. I'm treating this as a long tone exercise where I'm taking as much time as I want to get comfortable with how it sounds, find the best sound, and hold the best sound as steady as possible. But let me continue on to the next bits. And if you're a more advanced player as well doing this, still do it, but you can start to be more picky about the sound quality. You could pull up a tuner if you really want to torture yourself. And also, what I'm doing is paying really close attention to the note starts, making sure that I'm able to either transition to that note or actually articulate really cleanly and clearly on. Not bad, not bad. I am going to torture myself and pull up a tuner and see where we're at on some of these notes. Okay. Let me first see how generally in tune I am. Okay, I'm generally sharp as usual. Okay, I think I can work with that. Good start. Whew. um, I was experimenting with some different fingerings, especially on the highest F sharp and G, because G, for one, has many, many different fingering options. In the website that I link in the book, I think that website has 17 different fingerings for G, if I remember correctly, and they all are sort of slightly different pitch. In the book, I mention trying to find the most sort of in tune squeak. Which I was actually pretty in tune. I was able to get pretty good intonation with all of the fingerings. It was just a matter of how much I needed to adjust to get the tuner to stay in tune on those fingerings. But this is really great to sort of get the comfort and experience up here. I do have about 5 minutes left on this session, so I'm going to do some more of the sort of more advanced stuff here and do some long tones up into these altissimo notes. And maybe I'm going to do it like medium tones, not full long tones, sort of a mix between scales and long tones to work on fingerings as well. So I'm going to do just the first 5 notes of a few different major scales going into the Altissimo. So I'll start with C to G. And then I'm actually probably going to go down from there to practice some of the different sharps and flats up there. And I just thought of a sort of bonus idea here. I'm going to do this with some drones to sort of work on the pitch up there as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drone the tonic note. So the next one I'm going to do is concert A. And as I'm droning that, I'm going to be sort of listening for how the pitches of the scale. I should be able to hear sort of the first 5 notes of a major scale off of the root drone pretty well. And let me go ahead and do it in the octave too. And just to be fancy, let's go ahead and turn on the just intonation as well. Whew, that'll be interesting to see how that sounds. I'll have to listen back. Hopefully that wasn't too obnoxious with the drone and the pitches. A couple people listened through that, so good for you. Hopefully that was an interesting exercise. Every now and then I was stopping to breathe because I needed to breathe, but also as I was stopping, I was sort of listening for the note, especially if I changed to a note and missed by like 20 or more cents, which is easy to do, especially in the just temperament. I would take a break, listen for where I was hearing that. So, like, if it was the third note, me, like, I would try to sort of hear where that was in my head first and audiate it, and then try to play it and hopefully get it in the right spot. So that was the Altissimo session for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you don't have the Next Generation Clarinet method, there's a link in the description. It's quickstartclarinet.com/nextgenbook, so you can check that out. Also, don't miss on June 25th at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. I am going to be doing a live free training about sort of fixing your clarinet problems, going over how to like get a good sound, cross the break more easily, have good articulation, all of those really good things that I think all of us struggle with and work on quite often. So that's going to be great. There's a link in the description for that as well. Or you can go to quickstartclarinet.com/solutions. So check that out. Register for the training so you can get the Zoom link. There's also going to be a live Q&A on that Zoom session that I'm going to leave lots and lots of time for. So hopefully we'll get to answer all of your specific clarinet problems as well. So quickstartclarinet.com/solutions for that, and I hope to see you all there. And I will also see you all next week on the next live timeline session. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out. See you next time.